Thank you all for joining me this morning. And the topic that I want to talk about this morning is positivity in negative situations. And specifically, the idea for this talk came from comments made by a couple people over the last several days. And when the first person told me that I'm positive all the time, I think that that it actually had a perhaps a negative connotation to it. I think that the insinuation was was something to the extent of that hey, how can you be positive all the time? This isn't stuff to be positive about, or even this, you're hypocritical. Nobody can be happy, all the time. There's too many. I'm pretty sure that the person kind of meant that my consistently positive attitude was annoying to them or offensive to them. But then the very next day, and this was like I said a few days ago, but the very next day, somebody who I respect very much, Shion Adams specifically, said because I said, here's what I said that caused his comment. I said, people think that because I'm positive all the time, that means that everything's always going well or always going my way. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. I just choose to be positive. And he said, which was awesome for me, he said, sir, he goes, that is one of the things I have respected about you all these years. He goes, I've seen you in the midst of struggles, always maintaining a positive attitude. He goes, and not only have I always respected it about you, but it's one of the character traits that I've tried to learn from and emulate, or something to that effect. And the two comments got me thinking about it. Because I talk a lot about positive mental attitude, and I'll talk a lot about positivity, but of course that's the question, right? The question is, how can one remain positive in very negative situations? And so I gave a little thought to it and wanted to share with you all today. And the first is that absolutely, to have a positive attitude is a choice. It's a choice, and I think even perhaps a little beyond a choice, a discipline. Like any other, it's something that requires, like any other choice, any other discipline, like any other choice that happens to also be a discipline, it requires practice. But I want to start. Thank you, Mama. My mom says, well, your positivity helps me tremendously. It actually blesses me. Thank you, Mama. That's a great thing for coming from you too. So I want to talk a little bit about how one makes this choice to be positive all the time. And I want to start by talking about what it does not mean. And I believe that making the choice to be positive does not mean you're oblivious to the facts. It doesn't mean that you're unaware of the enemy situation, that you're unaware of the threats to whatever it may be. In this case, of course, that we have the actual health threats, but we certainly have the economic threats, and there's more. There's so many. It does not mean that you're oblivious to the situation when one chooses to be positive. It also does not mean that you don't have fear and anxiety. I do. I have fear sometimes, and I have anxiety sometimes. And every leader that I know, every other leader that's in the foxhole, deals with these things. But we make a choice, and the choice is to feed faith, not fear, to step forward courageously, not cower anxiously. It does not mean, the third does not mean is the choice to have a positive attitude neither means that we always feel positive, or even that we always have positive thoughts. Like every other human being on the earth, sometimes you just don't feel positive. In fact, sometimes, believe it or not, everyone feels like quitting. Everyone feels like being done. The only thing that's different is that some people actually give into that feeling, and some others choose to remain positive through struggles, to remain focused on their goals and their dreams and their desires, to make the choice to do everything that one can do and to never, never, never quit. These are some of I hate to use the term favorite in this discussion, but some of my favorite leadership philosophies, some of the most, what I consider to be the most important things to succeeding in battle, to succeeding in adversity. Like Rich LeClaire says, having a negative attitude just breeds more negativity. And that's absolutely true. At the very, very end of this, my talking notes is that that positivity is contagious, and so is negativity. Absolutely. A positive or negative attitude breeds more of the same in others, in those that we follow, in those that listen to us. In those that we lead, that follow us, in those that listen to what we're saying and doing and thinking, and in ourselves, most importantly of all. Because remember, your subconscious mind is always listening to everything you say and everything you do. And so this is why this is a discipline. Because we're not oblivious. We do deal with fear and anxiety. We don't always feel positive. The negative thoughts will creep in to our minds too. It's what we do about it when those things happen that most matters. We choose to be positive for all the reasons already cited, and especially because of the burden of leadership if you happen to be in a leadership role. And I personally believe that most people are in a leadership role with somebody. And the point is that somebody is always watching. So listen, again, if you happen to have a tribe of people that follow you because you run a martial arts school or a daycare, or you're a teacher at a public school, or or any other business or platform, then that's one form of leadership. And I will say that I believe the burden of leadership gets greater and greater, and that these truths are more and more relevant the more people that you are responsible to. In other words, the more people that are, I am aware that my leadership and my choice to be positive affects many students, my team, as well as my family. Which leads me to the finishing of that thought, which is that even if it's only your immediate family that you're leading somebody. So part of the burden of leadership is to remain positive, because if the leader isn't positive, then who will be? The follower looks to the leader for the command climate, for the intent, for the feeling, for most importantly, for the belief that we can and will do this. When I was in the military, this was called grace under fire. The bullets might be flying, but you still got to be leading, and you still got to be making decisions. And the best place to do that from is a place of positivity in a negative situation. Look, I want to give a couple analogies. I'm going to give some kind of hypothetical analogies from self-defense. We are, after all, a Krav Maga self-defense oriented martial arts school. So I want to give a couple self-defense scenario analogies. And then I'm going to do like I always do, take it from there into the world, like into our current world and our current situation. And let's talk about a real timely real world example going on today. Good morning, Robbie Thomas and Jason Smith. Lots of great American heroes joining us on this call. So we are, I hope that you guys will go back and watch this whole talk, because this is one that I know that all of my fellow leaders will really appreciate and agree with. So we're to the part, though, where we're talking about that when we've made this choice to remain positive in a negative situation, and we must, for those that follow us, that we were going to talk about some specific analogies. And the first one is hypothetical analogies from the self-defense world. Let me tell you something. When one is we train to defend ourselves against people with sticks and knives and guns, against multiple attacker scenarios and terrorist situations. And let me tell you something. Any of these are scary situations. If you've ever done any really, really extensive knife training, you know that getting in a fight with somebody that's wielding a knife is a messy and bloody situation. In fact, a friend of mine that's a martial arts counterpart, kind of a peer in the martial arts world, he recently put up a video, and it was him with a real knife, and he's slicing through like a thing of beef, and he says, "This is why I don't teach knife self-defense." He says the thing to do is make sure that you're not there, that you don't deal with this. And that is so relevant to today's discussion, to the analogy I'm making. Another one, my teacher once told me, Yalen once told me, he said, when you are dealing with a terrorist, you must consider yourself already dead. And therefore, any move that you make to improve your situation improves your situation. Now, you may think, wow, that doesn't sound like a discussion of positivity. But here's what I mean. As I said earlier in this talk, the choice to be positive in a negative situation does not mean we're oblivious to the situation. If somebody is holding a knife to your throat or a gun to your head or any of these scenarios we're talking about, the situation has gone bad. The potential repercussions of your choice and what you do next are grievous. But in these situations, I or you or whoever finds themselves in this self-defense situation has hopefully trained enough to where their mind and body will subconsciously make the decision to deal with the situation appropriately, aggressively, decisively, with confidence. In this particular scenario, the choice is confidence. Confidence that comes from knowing that you have prepared before for this situation. And an understanding that the aggressive action that you take may just improve, maybe the best chance for you to survive the situation. It's not that you don't feel fear from the fact of what a knife can do to you or what a bullet to your head can do. Not oblivious to the facts. We just don't choose to be the type that will allow that fear or that realization or that reality to paralyze us. No, we are trained to take aggressive action to improve our situation. And what do I have to say? Somebody sitting in the audience is saying to get home safe. Because that's our whole objective in the Krav Maga self-defense piece of what we do at Krav Maga Martial Arts. The whole objective is just to get home safe. So listen, if I could avoid that situation and not be there in the first place, that was the best. And if once I realized that this guy was going to pull a knife and try to hurt me with it, I could somehow exit the area, man, that's the best. I survived. I got home safe. But if, and especially if I happen to be with a person, for example, that can't defend themselves and I have to defend them. So now I have the responsibility for a child or spouse or other that I know is not going to be able to get safely away from this situation. Am I to run away from the situation, or am I to give a good, strong defense with a strong simultaneous counterattack and then neutralize the threat? You know, I will even become uncharacteristically who I am because I will beat that threat into oblivion. And it does not mean that I'm a violent person or a negative person. It does not. It means I am dealing with the situation. Make a choice to be confident and to be proactive. Now, I know that some of you feel like I've gotten far away from the topic. I hope to show you that the opposite is true. In the same way that we must make the choice to be proactive in the face of danger. In our day-to-day leadership lives, we also must make the choice to be positive in the face of negativity. It's the same kind of choice. Listen, every small business that I know, including every martial artist, every martial arts school that I know, especially the smaller ones, because I happen to have some friends that have huge successful operations. With multiple schools and this and that. But even those, the reality of what's going on right now affects them. In fact, let me tell you something. So let's paint this analogy for the purpose of the lesson. This is still also an analogy, although it's real world. More real world. It's not hypothetical like the self-defense situation. Maybe what I mean to say is it's timely. In other words, it's happening right now. And I'm only going to use the example of my martial arts school because it's the one that I'm personally dealing with. But I believe that everybody listening is dealing with something that is their potential for negativity. I believe that everyone in our great country is going through something. And look, there's a few people, there's some exceptions, of course. There are always some exceptions. There's some people that are almost in a blessed situation. They just kind of got the time off with, and still got the same revenue and they're at home and spending more time with their family and staying safe. And God bless you for that. I just hope that everybody's aware of that. I hope that people in that situation are like, wow, what a blessing. I hope that those people are able to look positively and go, man, this is like I got away from the knife guy without having to deal with him. Because I'm at home, safe with my family, and still got my livelihood. The danger firsthand. And there's other people that are out of work. And there's other people that own small businesses and are in the fight. And because let me tell you the reality. Here's the reality. Is that running, for example, a martial arts school like mine is hard when everything is going well. It's no exception. It's no surprise. It's no mystery. Why? To me, why in the 20 years that I've done this, as many schools have come and gone in close proximity to me? Because it's not easy. And everybody kind of thinks it is. And then when you get into it, it's like, wow, this is hard. This is a hard business. So what has to happen is, and by the way, on the other hand, there are schools that have been around as long and longer as well, and they're great schools. There are lots of great martial arts schools doing lots of great things around our country right now. I'm proud of all of them. Proud to be part of that industry. I also hurt with all of them because, like I said, I know many are struggling, even the really good ones, the ones that have stood the test of time. So how does this apply to this analogy? It applies in this way. It was hard even when everything is going well. Of course, it's critically hard when a situation, and look, I'm going to do another talk one day this week on the extremes around this situation, right? Because Aristotle said that all virtues are the mean between the extremes, and when you look at the dealing with the pandemic, there is no doubt there are people on both extremes of that, but that's not today's discussion. In fact, I said it to say this. Rather you believe that to reopen at this time would be extreme, or rather you believe that this whole thing has been an overreaction. I even have some friends, believe it or not, that believe the whole thing's been a hoax. But again, and I do not feel those things, by the way. But what I'm trying to say is that's not part of this discussion. For whatever reason, our businesses are closed. And probably most schools have a similar reality to mine, which is that we are trying to survive on a fraction of the revenue that we normally are able to generate at a time like this. We are being proactive and positive, and my team is so awesome that we are still providing the highest level of service in a different way over the internet. We are still meeting on a regular basis, and I am still putting together battle plans and contingency plans and fragos that's a fragmentary order for anybody out here that has never been in the military, in order to deal with the situation, to continue to adapt, to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and find new ways to make our business better, stronger, faster on the other side of it. See, I'm back to the positivity already. I can't even stay in the other place long because that's my choice. But it doesn't mean that all those negative situations don't exist. It doesn't mean that it's easy. On the contrary, this is for us, probably for, like I said, for every small business owner I know, this time is way harder than ever before. We're working harder than ever. We're not taking a break, and that's the hardest part of all, working harder than ever with all of our students not here. not even, but I am very, very grateful, by the way, to the about half of my normal active student count that are showing up for video classes. And by the way, I have assigned the job to Sensei Sarah to make missing in action calls and contacts and reach out to the people that aren't showing up and try to get them there. Because part of what we got to do is make sure that our people are still training and taking advantage of the contingency operation we've created. And you know, I've actually tasked Sensei Kyle to start reaching out to people that quit in the past for reactivations, to turn actually the situation into a positive one. Hey, whatever it was that had you quit last time, you can jump on a virtual dojo with us right now, and from wherever you are, you can be training with us. And there's many other things. I wrote a whole plan about a 6-pronged attack on what we're going to do to get through this. But the point of the story is the adversity exists, the negativity exists, the threat exists. There are negative possibilities on the horizon. Doesn't change my positivity. And again, I don't say that to boast or brag. I deal with fear and anxiety and uncertainty like every other leader. But because we know what our duty and responsibility is, we choose to lead. And if you choose to lead, you have to choose to be positive. You have to have grace under fire. You have to understand your priorities so that you can work on those priorities. Taking care of your team and your students, in my case, customers is what they're called in other businesses, and your business. But you can do it all in a positive place. I choose to be positive because it's our best chance for success. You see, we move in the direction of our dominant thoughts. So if you choose to focus on the negativity in any given situation, unfortunately, you are going to move in that direction. And if you choose to remain positive in a negative situation, then you have the best chance of moving in that direction. God and the universe conspires to aid a positive spirit that won't give up. It's not a quote, it's a thought I had. Maybe it'd be a quote. But it's the thought I had in thinking about how I was going to deliver this message this morning. Positivity, like its opposite, is contagious. And that is true in your own mind. So you have to take command and control of it. You know, I, like several of the leaders that I look up to, think the term command and control is almost a little the wrong control in a organizational situation. Because I need to command, but I don't need to control. I want command and interaction with my team. I don't want to try to control them. I want them to be part of the process. But command and control is a great choice for your dealing with your own mind. A great choice for dealing with your own mind. You have to take control of those negative thoughts when they pop up in your head. And you have to be proactive enough, strong enough, make the choice that I choose to be positive in this negative situation. I have considered the alternatives, and I know that to remain positive under fire is the best of all possible alternatives. And as I was alluding to before, and I began, you need to do it for yourself, and you need to do it for all the other people around you. Because people are looking to you. And in fact, people that struggle with this a little bit more, and in some cases, even the ones that may disagree, will still gain positive energy from a positive leader that chooses to be positive in the midst of a negative situation. So, speaking to everybody who has honored me with your presence today, I honor your commitment. I honor your effort. I recognize what you're going through. And I say, whatever your specific challenge is, today, dig deep. Make the choice to be a positive light in your own life and in the life of those around you. And I believe that then, one day on the other end of all of this, and right now I'm talking about the Now I'm going to date this video because right now I'm talking about the coronavirus shutdown of 2020. On the other end of this, we can come out better, stronger, faster than we were before. Because we also know that struggle builds muscles. Just like physical struggle builds our physical muscles, mental and spiritual struggle builds those muscles. But remain positive through the struggle so we can make it to the other side. By the way, let's also continue to be there for one another. We need to support one another through our struggles in this time. That is also an important lesson of this particular struggle. But most of all, be there and support yourself. And the way you do that is by choosing to be positive no matter what. Choosing to be positive internally no matter what the external circumstances of your particular situation are. Love you, appreciate you. Thanks for making the time. And I look forward to getting with all of you one-on-one, maybe in another virtual scenario for now, but certainly together in real life sometime soon. Make it a great day.